What if a house were not designed as a fixed object anchored forever to a single piece of land, but as a system, something capable of being taken apart, moved, and reassembled? What if domestic architecture was not tied to permanence through location, but to permanence through idea? And what if one of Frank Lloyd Wright's most refined Usonian houses carried within it not only a vision of living, but a quiet, almost prophetic strategy for survival? Hold on to that thought, because what seems at first like a simple house in New Jersey will slowly reveal something much more complex: a tension between place and displacement, between rootedness and mobility, between architecture as shelter and architecture as system. Because the Bachman-Wilson house, designed by Frank Lloyd Wright in 1954, is not simply a suburban residence. It is not just another iteration of the Usonian dream. It is a precise, almost surgical exploration of how architecture can balance individuality, modularity, and resilience, a house that begins as a statement about how to live and ends as a statement about how architecture survives. To understand why this house matters, we need to step into Wright's broader vision during the mid-20th century. By the 1950s, Wright was not merely designing houses, he was redefining the American domestic landscape. Suburbs were expanding rapidly, housing was becoming standardized, and repetition was beginning to replace identity. Wright saw this not only as a problem, but as an opportunity. Through his Usonian houses, he proposed a different model: affordable, efficient, but deeply human. These were not houses of excess, but of intention, reduced in cost, but not in thought, simplified in form, but not in experience. The Bachman-Wilson house represents a critical evolution of that vision. Commissioned by Abraham Wilson and Gloria Bachman in Millston, New Jersey, it becomes an exploration of the Usonian automatic system, a construction method based on precast concrete blocks assembled into a modular grid. At first glance, this may seem like a purely technical decision, but it is not. It is a conceptual shift. Everything in the house is governed by this system. Every wall, every opening, every structural element is aligned within a precise geometric logic. Repetition becomes a tool not for monotony, but for control. And yet within that control, variation emerges. The house unfolds horizontally across the site, maintaining a low, grounded profile that echoes the surrounding landscape. Large glass surfaces open the interior outward, dissolving the boundary between inside and outside, allowing nature to enter the experience of living. But this openness is never absolute. Solid walls composed of patterned concrete blocks create moments of enclosure, privacy, and protection. These blocks are not merely structural, they carry texture, rhythm, and identity. The system does not eliminate expression, it refines it. Inside, Wright continues his exploration of spatial fluidity. There are no rigid separations between living, dining, and circulation areas. Instead, space flows continuously, guided not by walls but by subtle architectural cues, changes in ceiling height, built-in furniture, and carefully controlled light. Movement is not linear, it is orchestrated. You do not simply move through rooms. You move through relationships between spaces, and everything belongs to the same system. Structure, furniture, material, and light are not separate components, they are integrated into a single architectural language. This is one of Wright's most persistent ideas, that a house should feel complete, unified, inseparable from its own logic. And here that idea is pushed to a refined clarity. At this point, everything seems to point toward permanence. A house carefully designed, precisely constructed, rooted in its site. But this is where the narrative begins to shift. Because decades after its construction, the Bachman-Wilson house faced a threat that architecture rarely anticipates: water. Located near the Millstone River, the house became increasingly vulnerable to flooding. The very landscape it was designed to engage the water, the terrain, the environment began to threaten its existence. And suddenly the house is no longer just an architectural object. It becomes a question. What happens when the site can no longer sustain the architecture? For most buildings, this would be the end of the story. Architecture is typically bound to its location. Remove it, and it loses meaning. But the Bachman-Wilson house was conceived differently. Because of its modular system, it could be disassembled. And in 2013, something extraordinary happened. The entire house was taken apart, piece by piece, block by block, carefully documented, transported, and reconstructed at the Arkansas Museum of Fine Arts. And in that moment, everything changes. The house survives, but not in its original place. This transformation does not diminish the house, it reveals its deeper logic. What began as a modular construction method becomes a strategy for survival. The house proves that architecture does not have to remain fixed to remain meaningful. It can move, it can adapt, it can endure. And in doing so, it challenges one of the most fundamental assumptions about architecture, that permanence requires immobility. Wright offers a different answer. Permanence, in this case, is not about staying in one place. It is about continuity of idea. The identity of the house is not tied exclusively to its site, but to the system that defines it. And yet, this creates a paradox. The relocated Bachman-Wilson house exists in a new context, a new landscape, a new cultural frame. It is preserved but transformed. It is both the same house and not the same house. And that tension is precisely what makes it so powerful, because it forces us to confront a deeper question. Is architecture about where it is or about what it is? Wright's work suggests that it is both, but that, under certain conditions, one can outlive the other. This realization redefines the entire project. The Bachman-Wilson house is no longer just a Usonian experiment. It becomes a prototype for resilience, a demonstration that architecture can endure not by resisting change, but by accommodating it. That a building can carry its identity beyond its original ground. That architecture, at its most thoughtful, is not static, it is adaptive. But the story does not end here, because while Wright is exploring modularity, system, and adaptability at the scale of the house, elsewhere architecture is being pushed in a completely different direction, not toward movement, but toward transparency, not toward modular systems, but toward the public image of modern institutions. In our next episode, we move to New York City, to the Manufacturers Trust Company building, 1954. By Gordon Bunshaft, a project where architecture becomes glass, visibility, and the representation of corporate power in the modern city. If the Bachman-Wilson house changed the way you understand permanence, not as something fixed, but as something that evolves. Subscribe to the channel. Space shape and scale is not about isolated buildings. It is about tracing how architectural ideas move, adapt, and redefine themselves across time and context. Leave your thoughts in the comments and click on the next video to continue the journey. Because architecture is not still. It moves, it adapts, it survives, and sometimes, in order to endure, it must be willing to leave.